Good day, everybody. Welcome to today's video. Today's video, I'm going to show you how to replace the lower control arm in your 2006 F150 4x4. Now, I went down the rabbit hole and I tried to replace the bushings, and I'm going to tell you right now, it's not worth the time and effort. You're far better off to avoid going down the rabbit hole and replace the whole control arm. I'm going to go through some of the procedures involved. Let's get started. So there's no real order of operations. This is the ABS wire I disconnected from up above. I got the vacuum line pulled off right here. I'm gonna remove the brake caliper first and then hang it safely. There's two bolts for the assembly, one right there, and then the other one right there. The ones closest to the IWE are for the wheel bearings. You're gonna need to move those two, and then this whole caliper can come off. Use that. Coax it off. There we go. I need to remove the hub. And I gotta remove that little nut. It's a 13 mil. So now I gotta bust the rotor off. I'm gonna use my ball peen hammer, hit between the studs to shock load it. Then I got a rubber mallet. I'm gonna hit behind. Once I'm done, hopefully to knock the rust free and snap her off. I'm going to pull the steering tie rod off. It's a 21 mil, I believe. I'm going to try to bust it free by hand. Given the amount of rust, I'm surprised that it just popped off like that. I've heard rumors that you could just tap the side and it'll pop out. There we go. I put the nut up so I didn't damage it. Before I bust the upper control arm bolt free, I want to loosen off the bottom one first. It'll just make it easier trying to get it off afterwards. I got that loose, so it should pop free by tapping it. So I want to point out right here, I'm using a pickle fork and my upper control arm ball joint is shot. So by using the pickle fork, you're guaranteeing that you're gonna ruin the boot. So I would probably avoid that method. Now the key for this is you want to make sure the upper control arm nut comes off first before you bust it free, put it on by thread. And then I loosened all the bolts off for the IWE, and then I'm pulling the nut off the top and then pulling the spindle down with the IWE against the axle shaft to safely pull it out. You're going to need to inspect the IWE, probably clean it up and re-grease it. I have another video on that. And then, of course, now you got to remove the bottom nut from the ball joint for the lower control arm and then take the spindle off. And then this happens, the ball joint breaks free before you get the nut off. So now the only way to do that is to, lower control arm's coming out anyways, remove everything at once and then cut it off. Now for the strut bolt on the nut side, I like to put a wrench on it first. This helps remove it. You'll probably thank me later. And then I take a rubber mallet and hit on the wrench to bust it free. And then after I get a couple of rotations from it, I put the impact on it and then I spin it off. And don't forget to remove the sway bar link from the control arm. Now I marked the placement where the lower control arms went so I can get it back as close as possible. before I get in alignment. Now sometimes the nuts and bolts are really seized, so I'm using the old double wrench trick here, which is really sketchy, but when you're in a bind it works. So in my case, I had to take the spindle and the lower control arm out as one, then cut the bottom part off so I can separate them both. I do want to point out, when you install your control arms, you don't want to tighten them up until you have the load back on the suspension. Otherwise, you're going to damage your bushings and that. And one piece of advice before you do up the lower strut bolt is to make sure the sway bar links in place. I didn't show it right there, but I ended up having to doing it over again. And then put the spindle back on, put that nut back on. I kind of like to do everything, like put everything on loosely first and then tighten it up. But definitely put the tire back on once everything's properly installed, and then put the weight down on the vehicle. Try to adjust your control arms as close to where they were before, and then tighten everything down. That's how you preload the bushings. That being said, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I have many other videos on doing certain sections of this very same topic, so you can go to those videos and find more in depth on how everything goes. And just a quick video, and I'll see you guys in the next one.